Hi, Grace.
Hey, Miriam. Good, you're here. Let me just figure out how to do this on my phone. Make host. Okay. All right, you're the host now?
Fantastic.
All right. Great. And Carrie, are you here?
Yes, sorry, it took a second.
Excellent.
Now, Grace,
good.
I'm just thinking that if something were to happen and we were to get booted off, none of us would be able to log back in.
Right. So, which is what I'm going to say, Carrie. If it crashes when I leave, text me.
Okay, sounds
right.
good.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Is it pouring in Shutesbury right now as well?
It is.
Yeah, it's pouring over here too. It's been
Great.
pouring for the past hour.
I think there's supposed to be thunderstorms. I don't know if that's going to actually happen.
Yeah, I was at the gym earlier and I could hear it. And it stopped.
Carrie, are you a co-host here?
She did not make me a co-host.
Let me make you a co-host so you can let people in.
Okay.
It's not letting me do that. It says I can make you a co-host. It said I can make you host.
You can't make me a co-host.
Isn't it the same
Really?
thing? Let's see what happens when I do this. No, I can't make you a co-host. What?
That's lame.
There must be something about this account. Okay, well, I will admit people.
Okay. I can always text Grace and see if she knows.
It may just be the way this account is set up.
Okay. Strange.
Bob.
Slightly unfortunate if anyone ends up having to share their own documents.
Yeah, it is a problem. And I'm not logged into, if somebody wanted to email me something, I'm not logged into my email because I'm also logged in right now to,
EDEP.
now somebody named meeting host is logging in. I don't know who that is.
That might be confusing.
Whoever you are who is logged in as meeting host, could you rename yourself?
Thank you.
Hi,
You're
Mark.
welcome. Hi.
Hello.
So I am logged in right now, Carrie an EDEP, which means I'm not going to be checking emails. So
Okay.
I don't want to have to log in and log out again. So
Well, you're allowed to make me host, right?
yes.
So
Again, I
if
can't
worse
screen
comes,
share.
let's say if worse comes to worse and there's something that's sent to the ComCom email that we want to see, you could probably switch me over and I could look at the email from there.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it rained. Now, I hope again we get enough rain for my plants. Everything needs some water.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't gotten rain in a while. Also, it's April, so it's fairly appropriate.
Now, the last time we had a meeting, I was having a lot of problems with buffering on my. So I have shut off all of the devices in my house.
Hope that the rainstorm doesn't.
Much to the dissatisfaction of some of the people in my house. What are we going to do if we can't stream?
And pre-nap before sleep.
That's a great idea. Hi, Mary. You're muted.
Hello.
Sound of the rain might make me fall asleep. It's so nice.
Hi, Robin. You think get out of this meeting before 10 tonight?
That would be awesome.
I was
feel
hoping,
like
I was hoping 9.
I feel like I'm failing as a chair because I can't get these meetings to be less. I'm gonna try and just not talk all night.
I'm gonna get a horn and go bzzz.
I'm just gonna keep moving the agenda along. Like, we're just not gonna keep going on and on about stuff. See, I don't know if we can get out. I don't think we can get out by 9, but I think we can get out by 9:30.
That's a good goal.
I think we just had a lot of stuff submitted in a very, very close time frame.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like that all summer.
Everything's just kind of falling on itself.
Yeah, it is a pretty big agenda, but if we do highlights, we can do good.
I agree.
Well, no, I'm ready to fall asleep today. Rain in the afternoon is like, okay, is it bedtime? Is it time to go to bed yet?
Nice. It's a nice
It
view
was a
behind.
great day to work in the garden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's doing great. I'm excited.
Actually gonna work tomorrow. This year I planted tulips and daffodils and some spring flowers, and I actually see some little green peeping out. It's like, oh, I gotta go down and look.
Yay.
Success, maybe success.
My husband and I last year divided up our daffodils, and we've got about, I don't know, 2,000 daffodils, something like that. We got a lot of daffodils.
Oh my goodness.
And they're doing very nicely this year. They needed dividing, so
Wow. Can I come see them when they're all blooming? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you'll have to take a
I've
picture.
got bulbs going all over my house, all over my yard. I've got tulips that are about to come up. It's a lot.
Wow. I may have 150 or so daffodils, but I cannot imagine the amount you're talking about.
Yeah, and there's a whole bed that I have to dig up because we're going to redo our septic system. So I have to dig up one of those beds and move it.
Oh, if you need to give any away.
Okay, I'll take some. I'll take some more.
Okay. All right. Well, looks like we got everybody. Scott's here. Hi, Scott. Hi, Beth.
Hello.
Hey there.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting 7 o'clock. And let me pull up the agenda. The first thing that we had on our agenda for tonight was to have a conversation with Bob Douglas about his property and to discuss our site visit from a week ago. So Bob is here. And I see that Mark Rivers is here. There might be some other folks from around the lake that also are here as part of that. And my understanding is that LWAC is also going to have this on their agenda on Saturday at their 9 o'clock meeting. But what I mentioned to Bob is I just kind of wanted to focus more specifically tonight on Bob's property. And I have a draft letter that I want to show the commission a little bit that we could issue to Bob in response, but let's hear from him and maybe have a conversation first. Do you want to start, Bob, and just tell us what your concerns are and where you're at?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much thank you for the site visit, and thank you very much for having me tonight. I just wanted to kind of discuss with the commission something that I can't imagine that anybody would be happy with, and that is there's been an increased flow to the lake from the runway runoff on Lake Drive, and as the videos that I've sent you show, it can be very thick, very rapid, and very destructive. The runoff carries a huge load of sand and sediment, and that all ends up in the lake. And so much so that I've shown this to people that is changing the topography of the lake, and that it's all discharging in one spot. It's piling up. As conservationists, that's not good for the ecosystem. That kills the invertebrate layer for the pond, and it's just really a bad situation. It's also causing damage to my house. It's thousands of dollars. Within the last year, it ran underneath the roots of a tree that's probably about 50 years old and toppled it into a neighbor's yard. So I think that's something that I'd like the commission to know about and to hopefully help with. Also, it's as part of this communication with the commission, it's come to light that there's a culvert beside my house, kind of along the property line, that was installed the same time as the new house was rebuilt and the new septic system went in. And it appears that is not on the, even though I do have a certificate of compliance for the house and for the for Board of Health for the septic system, the culvert itself was not included in that. So my desire would be to, since there is no, that was not installed with the blessing of either board, my desire would be to figure out an alternative to that, probably remove it. One thing that I was able to point out to some of the commissioners who came, that really in the last few years, the last 10 years, 5 years, 4 years, really the character of the roadway has changed. The association roadway now has a berm along all of its edges, which and then also there's been work uphill from us, which has caused more water to come down. And rather than evacuate the roadway individually over individual lots, it's really like light through a magnifying glass has concentrated all that flow. And you can see from the videos just the rapidity that it flows with, the amount of sediment that comes with it, and that all has been focused onto 66 Lake Drive and its neighbors, and it is very destructive to our properties in the lake. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to share with the commission. And again, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Can you hold on one sec? Hi, sorry, there's some background noise. So thanks, Bob, for that overview. Since some of us went on the site visit and some didn't, would anybody want to comment on what they observed on the site visit from the commission?
I was there and I was kind of horrified by what was happening. I was very surprised that everybody else had, burned their property and sent, so he's basically getting a lot of Lake Drive runoff down on his personal property. And the photos you took of the ditch that has formed from it coming out, I mean, I was very impressed by this, and I think it should be taken care of.
Yeah, there's a really,
I was there too, and yeah, the ditch is pretty interesting what's happened there. And I'm also really surprised, as we've looked into this, as to how that culvert actually got there. Since it's not really even on his property.
no.
I think it's important to also realize that this is ongoing damage, that it continues right now during the rain and during the rainy season. And we're talking about a continuous discharge into the lake, plus it's undermined and caused trees to upend. That in itself is probably actionable by the Concom there, I think, too.
So did you want to add any more about that, Bob, before?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. And again, thank you.
My thought about it is that, I'm really glad that Bob is being proactive and coming to us, and that he's expressing a willingness and desire to work with us to find a remedy. I really appreciate that. And recognize that this is a very complex situation with, if there are multiple factors contributing to this. It's the drain.
Speaker's not working. Please check your connection. Speaker.
Sorry, was somebody saying something?
Do you want to just call it on your phone?
Hi, could you mute yourself, please?
Share screen.
Misha, Michael Stotz, could you mute yourself, please? Maybe I can do it. Okay, thank you. It's a complex situation with a lot of factors that are contributing to it, including the runoff on the road, as well as just the construction of this drain. What I've said to Bob is that, I think it would be really good for him to get some guidance from an engineer or sanitarian about what is needed for his septic system and what is not needed. Because if no bypass drain is needed to protect his recirculating sand filter and septic field, then that's an easier lift than if it turns out that an engineer thinks that there has to be something to protect the leach field and filter. So I guess we're going to have to wait to hear about that. But I guess my thought for the commission is that, we've had multiple written complaints sent to us, some by Bob, some by other residents raising concerns about this. And the commission has never kind of officially responded, as far as I'm aware, besides doing site visits. I'm not aware that there's been any kind of determinations made by the commission. And I think that that's kind of a problem for us, to have complaints being filed and then are not making any decisions about them. I mean, one way or another, about how we want to proceed. So my suggestion is, at this stage in the game, is to draft a letter, which I wanted to share with the commission, to respond to Bob, just acknowledging the complaints and, talking about the next steps of what we'd like to see happen. And then, to have some similar kind of conversations with the Lake Wyola Association as well, because, again, it's going to require steps by multiple parties to kind of improve the situation. But it seems to me that Bob has a right to file a notice of intent. We can't tell him not to. Nobody else can tell him he can't file a notice of intent if he wants to remove this drain.
Right. I just want things to be fair. I mean, all the other people around him have put up berms so they don't have to get the water. And they used to sort of share this. Everybody took their little bit of water. And now, because he's the low point on the road, he's basically getting everyone's water.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to take the water so it's not all going on this one property. But that's probably something that we're going to have a conversation with the Lake Wyola Association, since they own the road. And maybe they'll have to have conversations with some of the abutters to try to come up with some sort of decision that'll meet the needs of the neighborhood and the road. But from Bob's perspective, I think that, we would want to welcome him trying to address it with a notice of intent. And I would rather kind of go that route than to treat it like an enforcement issue. I don't really think that seems heavy-handed and inappropriate, given that he's trying to fix the problem and is bringing it to our attention, as opposed to, perhaps us discovering a problem somewhere that somebody is not doing anything to fix. So,
Right.
so
No, I
what I
think
was
we-
thinking of was I drafted a letter that just is, it doesn't really make any determinations except that we want to see a notice of intent. And giving him maybe a window to do that. And I guess I wanted to know from, I was thinking maybe 2 months would be a reasonable time. And then if that isn't reasonable, and it turns out it's going to take longer, Bob could come back to us and let's say he needs another month or something. What do you think about that, Bob?
I think Scott's got a question there.
Oh, Scott? Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Miriam. I did have a question. I wasn't, having not been there, I was wondering, so the work or what the notice of intent would relate to as it relates to Wetland Protection Act. And I'm wondering if this is within the buffer zone, and what is it that would be our nexus to the Wetland Protection Act? If there's drainage or dredging or fill. I know in the act it does talk about stormwater management specifically being excluded from the Wetland Protection Act, and I didn't know here, if they're going to be filing a notice of intent, what that nexus, to the Concom and our jurisdiction would be.
Well, does somebody else want to answer? Beth, do you want to answer that?
Since I also wasn't at the site visit, I don't know, I guess, the distances and things from the culverts and the culvert outfall to the lake. To me, the lake is the resource area, and it sounds like it is being impacted and damaged. And so as a Concom, we should address that in some way. And Ooh, what was that? So I guess I'm kind of interested in the layout of where the outfall is and the drain is, and then do feel a little bit like what's happening to the lake is more the responsibility of the owners of the road, which is the Lake Wyola Association. And like Miriam said, we need to start talking to them about, to me, if there was an enforcement, that's where it would go to the road, not to just Bob Douglas. But you're saying, not saying do an enforcement, but I'm saying that's the route to go, is to talk to them more and work with them. But I am very interested in where this drain is and where the outfall is.
Yeah, right now there's a gully, there's an erosion gully that goes right to the lake, Scott, from the drain.
Is the drain within the buffer zone, Miriam, or is the drain outside?
Yes, it is. Isn't it, Bob? It's within 100 feet.
Yes, it's within the 100-foot buffer to land underwater body, the pond, correct?
And the drain, and forgive me because I wasn't there, so it just helps me to get a better understanding of the layout there. So there's a culvert.
Wait, can I interrupt? I have the site visit form with photographs. Would that be helpful if I
That would
pull
be
it up?
great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can pull it up quickly. But go ahead, ask your question while I'm doing that.
Well, I'm trying to, because I think a culvert by itself is just conveying water from one side of a structure, or, up a road, or, to the other. And so,
Scott, it's not a culvert. It's a trap. It's a sediment trap. It's a drain. It's a drain with a cover, not a round culvert.
okay, and leading in, so there's an extensive, well, maybe I'll stop and take a look at the photos and the site visit. Maybe
I'm trying to, it's not
Yeah.
recognizing, I'm sorry, I can't pull it up. It's not recognizing. Oh, maybe it is. Here it is. Sorry. Here we go. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so on the road, here is, okay, stop scrolling, please. All right, stop scrolling. Okay, you can see the green pin. Does everybody see that right here? That is Bob's property line. Is that correct, Bob?
Yes, I believe that is on the property line. It's not exactly the corner of the lot, but that is correct. That's about the property line.
approximate. So at the end of the fence or somewhere in this area around this. And so this drain is here. It's flush with the road. It's a grate that goes underground. There's this kind of brick retaining wall. And then there's a little bit of a cofferdam that people have kind of jimmied. Let me see if I can get to the next page. This is the actual drain. So it is underground in the front of his yard, and then goes past his sand filter, and then it sunlights. And as where it sunlights here, it's got some landscape fabric under it. Let me see if I've got some other pictures of the grain. So this is, and this is Mark Rivers' property that's abutting it. So that the fencing is, I believe, Mark Rivers' fence. This is where it ends on the lake, and you can sort of see there's a sandy area where all the sediment has been collecting in the lake. Here's a better picture of what the grate looks like, and you see this little cofferdam that some folks have jimmied to try to slow down some of the sediment. But I've gone and looked at this a number of times when it's rained. I've just driven by to look at it, and I've seen it flooding on a number of occasions.
Gotcha. And that point, so it's like point source discharge into the lake, and that grate that we see there, the beginning part of that's capturing water coming down the road.
Yes. So right here where this cofferdam is, Scott, is in the road. I don't know if I've got a better picture of the road. I don't know that I took a better picture. And here again, you can see where it's going past, I guess, is that your wells, Bob, right here?
That's right. That's a well cover.
Okay. So that's what it looks like. It's kind of a mess. It's pretty degraded.
And that bottom area is where the tree actually fell over.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I don't really, I'd like to personally not see us go to treating this as an enforcement issue when a landowner is saying that they want to correct it, because I think that we have more tools at our disposal if we work through a notice of intent process, as opposed to, I think it's a little bit more clumsy to do it through enforcement. And it just doesn't feel, it just sort of feels like, punishing somebody for trying to do the right thing.
Right.
We've had other situations where people had things on their properties that were problematic that maybe we could have viewed as a violation, but if they were voluntarily coming forward trying to remedy it, we've tried to work with them. And I think that is a good practice.
So this actually isn't on his property, and I think we do need to talk to the association about what their thoughts on this is, since this is actually on their property.
Well, the inlet is on their property. The drain is on his. And if we were to issue an order of conditions, we could not order Bob to take something off of the road, because we can't order somebody to do something on somebody else's property. That is beyond the limits of what an order of conditions can do. But, hopefully there would be a cooperative effort and permission would be given, or there'd be, some other, the Lake Oil Association would remove that portion of the drain that's on the road if Bob is going to remove the portion that's on his property. We don't want anybody removing anything without a permit, however. We don't want anybody going out there and altering this until they've filed a permit with us. Just want to be clear about that. So does that feel reasonable to you, Bob, to maybe start with a 60-day window and see if you can get something? Is that too soon?
Yeah, no, it may be too soon, but I think it's a good point to shoot for. I have been in touch with a local engineer that had worked previously on the house for my parents. So he's on vacation, and I do hope to hear back from him, do a site visit. So yeah, let's do that 60 days, and in good faith, I will do get as many answers as I can by that point. And if I need more time, I'll come back to you and ask for more time.
Okay, so commissioners, could we look over this letter then? Because I do want to have some sort of paper trail for this discussion. So do you want me to read this? You want to read it? Tell me when you're,
I can read it.
tell me when you want me to scroll or when. That's all there is to it. And my thought was to CC the Lake Whale Association as well as LWAC with this letter, if that's okay with you, Bob. Do you mind? Is that all right if we send it?
Yeah, of course. That's great.
Just so we're all on, you know, kind of all on the same page. Okay. Is there anybody, I mean, we only have a few more minutes. But I, you know, I don't know if there's anybody who wants to say anything more about this from the public or let's get a motion. Would somebody like to make a motion about this letter?
Could I just ask a quick question?
Yes. You want to just identify yourself?
Sure, Tom Seifert. And I just wanted to know, are you confirming that there's no record of the installation of that drain?
There is no record that we have been able to find.
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
From what we've been told, what happened was that there was a new septic repair done in 2013 that was permitted by the Conservation Commission. And at that time, it was Bob's father who had applied for that RDA. And it was not included in the RDA, but apparently was installed nevertheless around that time, probably at the same time by whoever did the installation work. Bob has told us that he thought there was some discussion at a Board of Health meeting with somebody recommending or saying that there needed to be a drain, but there's no record in the minutes from the Board of Health hearing for that septic system. I have gone back and to communicate with the Board of Health, and we dug up the old minutes. So it's possible comments were made, but they're not reflected in any minutes. They're not reflected in any permit documentation.
And there's no more documents or records of who installed it?
I guess the person who did the installation is either not living or not in business anymore, Bob thinks.
We don't know their name?
Bob, do you know?
Yeah, no, I don't know their name. The general contractor that put it in was Don Putnam, who's moved to Florida. And he likely subbed that job out to somebody else, and I don't know who that installer was.
Thank you. That helps piece together the narrative. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sorry, really quick, but for the minute purposes, do you mind spelling out your last name so I have it correctly, and also stating your address, please?
Sure. Last name is Seifert, S like Sam, I-E, F like Frank, E-R-T. I live at 27 South Laurel Drive.
Thank you.
So what do you think about this letter, commissioners? Anybody want to make a motion, or do you want any revisions to it?
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the letter and just add a copy to the LWAC also.
Yeah. And any second?
I second that.
Any discussion about it? No. Okay. David,
Aye.
DeFont, aye. Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson.
Aye.
Okay. Bob, are you still at 163 Stowe Road?
Yes,
Okay, great. Thank you.
great. Thank you, commissioners.
And for Mark and other representatives, anybody else here from LWAC, I'm going to try and come to the Saturday meeting. So maybe we can carry on this conversation then. Unless there's anything you want to say right now. I mean, we have a couple minutes before we start our next public hearing.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Is there anybody here from the Lake Wyola Association? No, I don't think so. Okay. All right. Well, Mary gave me the contact information for LWA, so we'll send a copy of the letter to them as well as to LWAC. And we'll go from there. All right, we got 2 or 3 minutes. Is Joe here for the public hearing? I don't see Joe.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This is Chris Stoddard, the engineer. I don't know if Joe's going to be able to make it, but I'm here for project.
Oh, okay.
It says Joseph's iPhone. Is
Yeah,
that him?
I actually think he's out of the country, so I'm not
Oh.
100% sure if he's going to actually speak or if he can speak. That may not even be him. I'm not 100% sure of that either. I know he's in Amsterdam today, so.
Wow. Okay. And he wants us to hold the public hearing as opposed to continuing.
Correct. Yeah, I've spoke with him, and I think we're all set. We can hopefully get this thing resolved today.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Well, we got 2 more minutes. So we can't do very much in 2 minutes. We can sit. I don't think there's a whole lot I want to get into in a whole nother topic. I guess one quick thing to the commission. Do you want me to send a letter to Coles asking for a site visit on the property for Pratt Corner West, where there was a culvert? Remember Emily Stockman shared that there was a culvert on the Pratt Corner West property. And she also, just for those of you who might not know this, she found a similar culvert on the Baker Road property for the Baker Road ANRAD.
So we should look at that if we haven't looked at it already.
No, nobody's ever, well, I mean, Emily looked at them, but the commission has not gone back and asked to review it with Coles.
And just refresh my memory on that, Miriam, was that culvert, is it draining water off the site or bringing water onto it? And
It's in the middle of the site. It's draining, it's water within the site.
gotcha. Yeah, I think it would be helpful if it pertains to the resource areas within the site that we're going to be talking about. I think that would be helpful.
Well, the Baker Road ANRAD has been withdrawn. So they're not moving forward with that particular project area, but there is, I mean, the point was that culverts were built without any permit. And I imagine they're thinking it's exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act because it's related to forestry activity. And so that's really kind of the question, is whether doing culverts for logging roads within a forestry parcel is an exempt activity. And I don't think it is. I think when you're altering a resource area like that by building a culvert, I don't think it's exempt. Janice?
Yeah, I don't believe it's exempt either. Sometimes they're allowed to do temporary culverts just for access and stuff. But if it's either a permanent road or a permanent culvert, they have to go through permitting like anybody else. That's my understanding.
All right. So
I think we should look, and I think we should look at both of them if they've
Okay.
been identified.
all right. Well, it's 7:31, so I want to open the hearing. I will draft an email to Shane Bonocci asking for a site visit, and I'll email you guys about what his availability is.
Okay.
All right, so at 7:30, we're going to open the public hearing for 31 Lakeview Road, notice of intent for a home demolition and rebuild. And it sounds like Joe Salvador, the landowner, cannot be here, but Chris Stoddard, his engineer, is here to represent him. And And we did a site visit this week with Robin and Mary and myself and Don, and we went and just reviewed the flagging in the field to see how the wetlands had been delineated. I think maybe we should start with pulling up the site plan. Should we do that and take a look at it? And maybe we can ask Chris some questions. Let me see if I can get it to screen share. I don't think it's open. Give me one sec. That's not gonna work. Did anybody have anything to start off with that they wanted to ask Chris while I'm getting the site plan up?
Well, maybe he can kind of give a little presentation on the project. That would be helpful.
Okay. So this is a revised map. If to refresh everybody's memory, we had our public hearing like in December, was it? I think, or January. I can't remember when we had our where we had the last public hearing, and it was left that they were going to get some wetland delineations done and map out the buffer zones and also improve on the planting plan. So there's two, I'm trying to zoom in. Let me try to get rid of this piece of, okay. This site plan shows existing and proposed changes. Do you want to kind of walk us through it, Chris? Is he there? Hello? Is Chris, did we lose him? I don't see him. Can anybody tell me if they see Chris on Zoom? I don't see him.
I don't see him either. I don't know who the last telephone number is. It's unnamed.
Well, his it's Stoddard, so he must have gotten booted off.
Yeah, I don't see him.
Oh, geez. Well, that's a problem. All right, well, we got to wait. See if he logs back in. I'll stop the screen share for now. And I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not on my, let me see if I can check my email and see if he's emailed me. Hang on one sec. No, I don't see anything from him. Okay, well, we'll give it a few more minutes.
You want to do those two site visit updates while we're waiting?
Yes, let's just do that quickly. Let me go back to my, so we did a site visit at 86 Sand Hill Road for the geothermal energy system. And I am sorry I didn't get the site visit forms sent out until this afternoon, so probably nobody's had a chance to look at it, but so this is again similar to the other project that we just looked at, where it's in riverfront area. Dean Brook goes right through the property, and it's a very steep slope. The house has a really steep grade from where the house is in the driveway down to Dean Brook. So my recommendation would be that we require a notice of intent, as we did with the Cushman Road geothermal project. That's also, I would say compared to that project, this slope is much steeper. And the distance from where the trenching would go to that slope is very close. I don't have the measurements of where how far the trenching would be to where the slope begins, but it maybe fit within 15 feet, I think, maybe.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
I think it needs an NOI too, to delineate everything out better.
Yeah, sounds
So,
like it.
so we're in agreement about that.
Yeah.
The other situation was on 114 Montague Road, and this is a little tricky. So this landowner is building a deck and a small outbuilding that's going to be connected to the deck that's going to be built on piers. So I don't know how big, it's not a large outbuilding. I think he's thinking it might be a sauna or a shed or something. So there's not a lot of soil disturbance involved with the project. However, there is a slope. The property slopes down from that spot, and he's 57 feet from where we thought we saw wetland soils. And he's taken some trees out in the area that look like wetlands. And there was a lot of soil disturbance from heavy machinery, as well as the trees that have been cut down. And there's some gullying. His whole property slopes downhill quite a ways, and then off his property there's a very large wetland area, and you can see kind of a couple of channels on his property where there's just been long-term rain runoff, sort of creating a channel. And so this soil disturbance is going to be for the shed and the deck is going to be about 57 feet from the boundary of a wetland that's all downhill from where the house is. So the question was, do we want to require an RDA? Do you want to go out and take another look, maybe with Beth, to make sure we're correct about the wetland? You couldn't see any plants, but it was really, we're just going by sort of the lay of the land and what the soil looked like. So having another set of eyes to confirm that we're correct, that there's a wetland there, might be a good thing.
Yeah.
In terms of vegetation, it's all torn up because they've been taking trees out.
Yeah.
Which, if it is a wetland, would be a violation. But
yeah, I'd be happy to take a look, and maybe another site visit would give us a chance to decide whether we think RDA or NOI with it.
Okay. Okay.
If you think that'd be helpful.
I see Joseph has his hand raised. On Joseph's iPhone, there's a hand raised. Is that true?
I don't know if you can hear me.
Hi, Joe. You're back.
If I break in and out, you can understand why. I'm a few miles away.
Yeah. Do you want to proceed with the hearing? I don't see Chris anywhere.
Chris just sent me a text saying that his system completely broke down and he's trying to get it going again. So okay. I don't know if I can answer I try to answer some of the questions for him while he's still trying to log on to you guys. I don't have any paperwork in front of me, so you have all the copy. Everybody has copies of everything.
Okay.
He did. I can try to help you out. I know that they put a lot of stuff in it. So
yeah. So can everybody see the map now?
Yep.
Okay. And I can't maneuver around the map and also see if people have their hands raised. So if somebody else could just let me know if somebody's got their hand raised to comment so I can call on them. And Joe, I don't know if we can take your hand down. I'll try to lower your hand. There we go. Okay. So do you want to talk about this a little bit, Joe? What you've done with this?
Well, after the last meeting, Chris and the other engineer put together everything that would work on that property and adding more trees and locations where we could actually plant them. They worked out with trees and everything that should go there. I left it to them because that's their specialty.
Yeah.
And deal with all the water runoff and everything that the commission has asked me to do. I told them to make sure they put it in it.
Okay. Joe, along this erosion control line, are those existing trees, or are you planning on planting some trees down there?
I think some of them were drawn in on some of the corners without the map in front of it, but I believe they drew some in on like far corners, wherever they could put the trees and additional trees down there, they marked them in.
Okay.
I mean,
Because there's not, when we were there, if I look at where the erosion control is and where the slope is for the leach field, there's really no room there to put a tree. And stay inside that erosion control line. I mean, I had trouble walking along that slope between the erosion controls and the slope. I mean, really, the erosion controls are right up against the hill. So I was kind of curious about where the trees actually would go.
I think they're right next to the erosion control because we could plant them in there. Some of the places I believe further down, there's so many rocks and stuff that would be cause probably more damage than I left that to the engineers, whatever worked and what could be on it, do it. I want to make sure everybody knows I'm trying to make sure that put them wherever we can put them.
Yeah. Joe, are you aware that the leach field is very, very close to the wetland? Because I don't think you got a variance. You're like 10 feet, 15 feet from the wetland boundary.
I think when they put it in that runoff stream, you're talking in the back of it.
Yeah.
I think that was already in the drawing and everything when they submitted it. I know it was on my drawing.
Oh, was this wetland was in that? Because
Yes.
Because I didn't see it delineated, I thought, in the RDA. I don't recall it being delineated.
Yeah, I remember seeing they drew it in there as and there was a certain name for it, but it was in it.
Okay. Because usually if a leach field, I mean, this is kind of neither here nor there because it's not our authority, but usually if a leach field is going to be within 50 feet of a wetland, you'd have to get a variance from the Board of Health. And I don't recall that there was a variance granted. I think that my recollection was that when we did the RDA, that the Concom had not noted this wetland on the RDA map, because we had done a site visit during the winter. But anyway, somebody is signing in. Maybe this is Chris. Are you there, Chris? Hi, is that Chris? I see 978. I'm hoping that's him. He's muted. We can't hear you. Chris, we can't hear you. All right. I don't know if he's going to be able to unmute. So that, I guess that was one of my questions, was whether for Chris, who I think is there, I think that's him, whether there were going to be some plants added here, whether these trees were. Oh, hi, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Whew, God. I apologize for that. I don't know what happened. My entire internet just went out. So I'm
Right.
sorry. Let's see
Okay.
if we can figure this out. If not, we can continue it. But what was your question? I apologize.
So, whoa, can you guys, my screen is jumping around. Can you guys still see the site plan? I got it up.
You can.
Okay,
Yes.
it's kind of jumping around on my computer. So the erosion control line shows some trees within the erosion control line. Do you see that along the bank side? And it wasn't really clear whether those were existing trees or whether you're going to be proposing planting some trees there, because there's not a lot of room where the existing erosion control is to add much. It's a very steep slope right to the line.
Yeah, so the 14-inch oak and the 8-inch oak are existing. And what I was proposing is to put 3 additional trees. Obviously, they're going to be relatively small caliber, get down there. But trying to put them along that bank, what I'm trying to do is, obviously, because that's a cold water fishery, we're trying to promote shading. Obviously, these trees are going to be young, so it'll take a while for them to mature, but small enough to where you could go in there and dig them by hand. Obviously, we don't want to get a machine around down in there and disturb anything beyond the erosion control or what's actually been established on the slope. So we were just figuring 3 additional trees in that area, small enough to carry down there, small enough to dig it by hand, you know, 5-gallon bucket, maybe a little bit larger, to be able to set those in so they can hopefully mature and create some more shading for the brook.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about kind of how, you know, I guess what we would like to know is, since, you know, the responsibility for you as the applicant is to show how you're meeting the riverfront redevelopment standards. Do you want to walk us through how you see us meeting those standards?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have the plan up, I'm assuming?
Yes.
For them? So we can kind of go back through the whole thing here real quick, and then I'll get to all that. So the existing property obviously has the existing leach field in place with a number of plantings on there, with what was an 890 square foot building on the site, and as well as, if to the north of that, a couple stockpiles of existing rocks, I believe, came from the foundation when that building was demoed. So building comes down. Obviously, let's move forward to what we're proposing, is hopefully what the commission is kind of looking for based on the feedback we got in the last project, the last meeting back in, I think it was January. So if you look over near Lakeview Road, most of the water that sheet flows off of Lakeview Road goes down, runs in next to this 12-inch H2PE culvert, and runs into the wetlands. So what we're proposing is, in that area, we're actually proposing some plantings, some grasses, and some shrubs. That riprap, that stone riprap, is existing. What we're trying to do is slow down the flow coming off of Lakeview Road into the wetlands, and also do a little bit of treatment. If you look to the east of the building, we are proposing a couple stone walls. Really what we're trying to do is we're trying to flatten the site out a little bit, if we can, to really slow down that stormwater flows into the Sawmill River. So in those areas, we're proposing some stone walls, some plantings, some native shrubs and trees, and some grasses. If you look just to the north of the building, we're proposing the area pretty much where those 2 stockpiles of rocks are, to put some native grasses in there and some plantings, really to get the flows, the stormwater flows, to interact with those plants, remove some of the sediment, nitrates, and everything, and really try to treat as much of that stormwater runoff on site, while also promoting some of that native the growth. Also, just to the north of the building, we are proposing that a dry well, which would treat all of the runoff from the impervious roof, or impervious, excuse me, into that dry well, so that way none of the flow from the roof would actually end up going into the river at all, recharge on site. So I can go to the narrative that we did. So under the redevelopment criteria, there's, you know, a number of A through F. So A minimum proposed work shall result in improvement over existing conditions. So we're proposing to reduce the runoff and the impervious area within the site by infiltrating all of the runoff from the roof. So we believe we are meeting this criteria because we have, and with the plantings of the grasses and shrubs, to, you know, reduce the runoff rate and promote greater infiltration onto the site. Criteria B, which is stormwater management, provided according to the standards established by the department. Single family houses are actually exempt from Mass stormwater standards. However, we did feel that we needed to provide something, so that's why we've included the dry basin and the gravel drip strip, so that way any roof runoff can be treated on site. C is within 200-foot riverfront, proposed work shall not be located any closer than the river existing conditions. The existing structure is approximately 34 feet off the high water line of the brook, and the existing disturbed area, which is outlined by the erosion control, is approximately 18 feet at the closest point. The proposed building is actually going to be 37 feet away, and The proposed mitigation is just to obviously the inside of the erosion control, which is approximately 20 feet away. So we're not moving any closer to the brook. The proposed work includes expansion, including expansion shall be located outside the riverfront. We're not proposing any expansion closer to the area, closer to the brook than what was already disturbed. The area proposed work shall not exceed the amount of degraded area. So the existing degraded area on the site is approximately 4,000 square feet of the total 32,500 square feet that the property is. The proposed project is to impact 3,000 square feet, and the total riverfront area on the property, the entire property is within the riverfront, so it's 32,500 square feet.
What's
And
the-
then, so F,
Scott, wait, Scott, not Scott, Chris, what is the percentage? Is it less than or more than 10%?
the total degraded area is more than 10%. The total existing degraded area is more than 10% of the total of the total riverfront area on the property. But our project is proposed to not impact the full 4,000 square feet. We're proposing to impact less than 10%, which is only 3,000 square feet. 10% would be 3,250 square feet. So if we go down to F, so as a mitigation, we are proposing to install approximately 1,327 square feet of what I'm calling, and I actually pulled it right out of their language, herbaceous and woody species made up of native grasses, 10 various conifer and deciduous trees, and 9 native shrubs spread out throughout the site to help treat stormwater runoff from Lakeview Road and within the site. The runoff from the roof is going to be is 100% infiltrated within the crushed stone drip strip and dry well, which accounts for 900 square foot of reduced impervious area on the site. And the remaining 773 square feet of project area shall topsoil and conservation seed mix applied to secure the site using erosion blankets until the seed mixture has established and stable in the opinion of the Conservation Commission. So that was a lot, but we feel that we meet all of those criteria for the redevelopment, and we also feel that due to the fact that he does have several enforcement orders on the property, we think we've hopefully gone above just the minimums and provided some additional plantings and stormwater mitigation techniques for the site.
Okay.
I apologize for not having my camera on or being able to do this video, but hopefully that came across.
Yeah, it's a lot. My computer is doing something really weird. I've got to close. Hold on, I'm having a problem. Sorry with the Adobe. Let me try to get it closed. Do people have questions? Scott, I keep calling you Scott. Chris, one of the things I noticed was on the first plan that you had given us, you had a spot for a spoils pile, but there isn't anything on this existing plan.
Correct. So everything is being hauled off-site. The existing rock piles that are shown on the current plan are going to be used for the retaining walls that we're showing on that plan. Everything else, any material that would be excavated out of the hole is going to be hauled off-site because it won't be used. So the truck will be right there. The excavator will load in. Due to the fact that the sensitive nature of, I didn't realize in that first plan how close this wetland was to the southern portion of that leach field. Once we got the delineation done by Ward Smith, it became pretty clear that it didn't make sense to store anything on the site. So we're proposing just to haul everything off the site. Plus it's all garbage. It can't be reused anyways. So.
Do other people have some questions? I'm having a little bit of, I'm trying to look at the plan, and I'm having a little bit of a problem with my Adobe right now. So somebody else could.
Janice has a question.
Janice, go ahead.
So Scott, no, not Scott.
Oh, it's
Chris. Sorry, Chris. On the plan that I was looking at, it looks like the 50-foot buffer line in blue just sort of ends at the end of the BVW buffer, but it doesn't continue for the buffer to the bank to the stream. Why is that? Was the
Because
stream not delineated or what?
no, it was. So if you look, you can see the red line for the 100-foot riverfront area, the 50-foot
Wait,
BVW.
let me pull it out again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There was a little bit of a problem with Adobe, but I'm putting it back up. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So
Yeah, so
you're just so
So
everybody
H-
thinks this is the 50-foot, this purple line or blue line is the 50-foot buffer line, and it ends kind of right here. Is that what you're talking, Janice?
correct. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the reason it ends right there is because that's the 50-foot buffer to the bordered vegetated wetland, which would be A1 through, I believe it's A20.
12.
Yep.
Or something.
And
yeah,
so
okay.
you can see where flag A1 and H high water flag number 6 meet. So that's the 50-foot off of that. You can see the red line is the 100-foot riverfront delineation. That goes all the way. Ward located that all the way up to the end of the property line. So technically the wetland buffer ends right there. I mean, I guess it could continue straight across to, it
Well,
would kind of curl in, I guess.
Banks have a buffer zone as well, whether they're intermittent stream banks or permanent banks, they do have a buffer zone, but it just looks odd that one sort of starts and the other sort of stops. It just sort of hangs there. But I see what you're talking about, at least at this point. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, the 100-foot riverfront goes all the way. You can see it kind of shoots way over to the other side of the Lakeview Road there.
Okay.
And then comes across, obviously, the entire property.
Okay, and I had one other question. I'm not sure, but I thought there was something about not planting trees too close to a leach field. Will that not be a problem here because the trees are a lot lower than the leach field? Or is that anything?
Yeah, so what we don't want to do, normally we don't want to plant trees within 10 feet of the leach field. So being down on that lower bank is quite a bit away. It's about 20 feet from the actual leach field itself. So I don't, there should be no issues with that.
Okay.
We can't put it directly on top of the leach field.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I guess one of my concerns here, Chris, and I don't know, is that really, it seems to me when I looked at it, that you really couldn't, if you were to keep that erosion control where it is right now, you wouldn't be able to plant. I don't think you could plant a tree and keep that erosion control in place. I think you'd have to move the erosion control, or you'd have to plant the tree on the other side. There's just no room.
Well, we could pull the trees up with the bank. We could plant those trees on that slope. We could come 5 feet in and plant them right up on that slope. We've done that, we've done that in Greenfield relatively successfully. Planting whips on the slopes, and what'll help is as those trees mature, that root network will just help stabilize that bank, even further.
Okay.
I mean, I have no issues with moving them. I just was, I know DEP's comment about that is a cold water fishery and losing that shading. I was trying to, help promote that by placing some of those trees in that lower section.
The other,
if the commission, that's fine.
The other question I have is that I don't see any erosion controls around the culvert where near A12 and A11, where really you're going to be putting some plantings in, but it's very close to where the parking areas and where the heavy machinery would need to enter the property to do the construction for the house. And I don't see how you're doing anything to protect that low point right there. I know that there's a whole bed of riprap, but it seems to me that
and there's actually currently there's a straw wattle there that was existing. I'm guessing from the leach field being installed.
It's not reflected on these maps. It doesn't show really these maps should be showing what the erosion controls are that the applicants can be held accountable for. And it isn't there. And that's kind of a concern. Yeah.
Could we, if the commission votes to approve the project, could we make it a condition that we obviously extend this erosion controls up to the border of Lake Road pavement and with a revised plan showing that?
What do you guys think? extending the erosion code to Lakeview and submit a revised plan. Okay, I have some draft conditions and maybe we can add that in if we can agree on the language. Any other questions people want to ask?
So I was wondering, just with the erosion control in the site plan, you have slope installation for some of the erosion control, and it almost looks like it's rows, and it's not shown on the plan where you were thinking of using that.
Yes, that was another question.
No, so, yeah, there's a note in the notes section. It said on the first sheet, it says contractor to install soil stabilization matting on all slopes greater than 3 to 1. I don't anticipate that. That was really more just to cover in case there's no slope that we are proposing to work on or adjust that is 3 to 1. However, just in case something crazy came up, I wanted to cover my basis, and that's why I put that note in there, and that's why I showed the detail. So there's no intention of, there's no plan, no location on this site that we're proposing that's greater than 3 to 1. But I like to have that in there. Too many details is better than not having enough, I feel like.
Okay, and the other, is this area flood zone? Is this BLSF too, or no?
No.
Okay.
What are the dimensions of the parking area? Because that was the other question I had, was that I don't see any details here about what the parking areas can be surfaced with and what the dimensions of it are.
It's what's existing currently. There's no proposal to change anything. So the parking area is really just existing gravel. What is there right now that's all it's going to be. We're not proposing to change anything. That's why I didn't show any changes to the existing parking area. I mean, at this point, it's really just kind of weeds and gravel. There's nothing different.
Right,
He's
but
not proposing to add
it's not vegetated right now. There's no grass holding it down. I guess my concern would be that if it's not a defined area, somebody might just assume that it's a much larger footprint. It's because it's not defined. Because, what would prevent people from just parking closer to that culvert, for example, but if it's all flat? Because right now you can park pretty close to that culvert.
Well, the grasses and the trees that we're proposing to put in that area.
Oh, right. That's right. That's right. You're going to have that land. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong map. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions about this?
I think the plantings are good. I think they're well placed. Except for maybe the ones on the slope might be tricky there right by the erosion control, but I think it looks pretty good.
Okay. So one of the things I just want to share with you, Chris and Joe, while we're still in the public hearing, is that we have been, we did talk at the last public hearing about possibly having perpetual conditions of a no development or no touch zone in order to mitigate some of the degradation on the site. And I suspect the commission may be interested in having some perpetual conditions. And so, I just want to give you a heads up about that before we kind of get to the point where we close the public hearing and deliberate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No. I remember that conversation. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think the plantings look like a significant improvement. It looks good. It looks like it's going to be an improvement over existing in many ways. However, there's been quite a bit of degradation on this site, and maybe I'm wrong about this. So Beth and Janice, feel free to correct me, but in order to overcome it's probably not practicable to meet all of the riverfront redevelopment standards because of the size of the lot and the constraints imposed by the size of the lot. You can't stay 50 feet away from the riverfront, the bank. because you'd be in the middle of the leach field, in the middle of the house. And that's part of the reasoning for having some perpetual conditions, is because we recognize that it's not economically and physically possible to meet all of the possible standards for protecting the habitat. Am I right about, am I saying
Yeah.
this correctly?
Yeah, and I mean, the commission can ask for the kinds of things that we've been talking about in terms of, marking a no-touch zone anyway, and especially because there were some enforcement issues at the site too.
Yes.
So, it's fine.
So, do we have enough information to close the public hearing and then go over the order of conditions? I'd sort of like to be able to issue this tonight. So that's why I drafted the order of conditions. I've got the permit in EDEP. So I know we have an item at 8:30 that we have to get to. I don't know if we can get all this done by 8:30, but that would be kind of my hope, that we could get a chunk of it done. And then maybe after we're done with talking with the consultants, we can pick up and finish the permit tonight.
Sounds good.
Okay, any more discussion, any more comments before we close the public hearing? Okay, somebody want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing
Okay,
on
second.
31 Lakeview.
All right, and is there a second?
I second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
DeFont, aye, Harrington,
I,
Khan,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, all right. I'm going to pull up the draft order of conditions. If I can find it, I think I left it open. Yes, I did. And there might be some changes that we want to make. I've highlighted some things that I just wanted to kind of go over with people. Oh, where is it? Why isn't it showing up? This is not it. Sorry, hold on a second. I don't have it open apparently. Has everybody seen it from what I mailed out to everybody?
yes.
I did, yes.
All right, I think now I can share it. Maybe I can share it. Try one more time. Is it showing up? There we go. I got it. I had too many things open on my, Chris got kicked out. It looks like he's coming back in now. Okay. So let's just go through the findings and make sure we're agreeing on the findings. And I'm not going to be able to see if anybody has their hand raised. So please, somebody tell me if someone wants to talk. So here are the draft findings. Commission finds that the project includes the following jurisdictional resource areas as defined by the WPA, Rivers Protection Act, Wetlands Protection Act regulations, and our bylaw and regulations. So we approve the following.
Yep.
I don't think it should be following. We approve the mean annual. So the mean, is that right? We approve the mean annual high water line of the Sawmill River is delineated in the site plan and flagged in the field as H1 to H12. The commission approves the boundaries of the A series bordering vegetated wetland, delineated on the site plan and flagged on the property as A1 to A20. The 100-foot buffer zone around the A series bordering vegetated wetlands is not mapped. I guess it was mapped. The 50-foot was. Am I correct that it was not mapped? Chris? Well, Chris can't answer that question. Sorry, you
What was the
can't.
question?
You can't answer it. Sorry. Let me ask one of the commissioners. I can't look at the map and look at this document at the same time. So
Yeah, I didn't see the 100-foot mark.
Yeah, correct. I didn't see 100-foot.
So I'm just saying the 100-foot buffer zone around the A series is a resource area under the Shutesbury bylaw. The property is located within the 200-foot riverfront area, which is a protected resource area. And the soil absorption system is within the 50-foot buffer zone for the A series vegetated wetland. Then I have a paragraph that this is a perennial stream and a cold water fishery. Is that 2 words, cold water fishery?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and the project involves the demolition of a house, 900 square feet, new septic system in March of 21. Previous tree removal, soil disturbance, and partial demolition on this site were subject to 2 enforcement orders. I felt like it was important to mention that in our findings. Soil disturbance related to these activities was within 50 feet of the bank of the Sawmill River and within 10 feet of the wetland. These enforcement orders required erosion controls. The reason for putting this in was because we're sort of wanting to wrap everything up. So we want this order of conditions to sort of satisfy the enforcement requirements so that we're being clear that this is meeting all of those things. And then these are the plans and documents. I wasn't sure, I'm referencing here the enforcement orders here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And any other documents? I guess not. Okay, I don't think we need a period there. All right, and then in terms of findings, it's subject to the riverfront area general standards and the redevelopment standards. I believe we have to say as a finding that we find there is no practicable and substantially equivalent economic alternative to the proposed project with less adverse effects. Because then we're sort of saying that they've only partially rebutted the presumption, but we're allowing it. But because of that, we're going to have some perpetual conditions, which are listed below in order to ensure sufficient mitigation for impacts.
Right.
Make sense? Yep. All right. I don't want to go through reading all of these conditions unless you guys want me to. I had some questions that I wanted to go over with you, but has everybody had a chance to look at the draft I sent out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And Janice did me a solid and looked it over today. And found some errors. So super happy that you did that, Janice. Thank you.
I don't know if they were errors, they're just comments.
Well, no, I had the wrong deed. The deed
Okay.
was wrong. So no, I definitely had some errors. Okay, there's some construction phase conditions here. We were talking about changing the erosion control. So let's add a condition, I guess, here. How would we want to word this? That, and can somebody help me out here with the language, given what Chris was recommending?
I don't know what it was recommending.
The applicant shall install an erosion sock extending along the A series bordering vegetated wetland to Lakeview Road. And will submit photographs of these controls once they are installed. Does that sound? Photographs to the commission. So we don't have to do another site visit. Been to this property a bunch of times. Does that sound okay, everybody?
Is it going to get added to the plan too?
This, okay, right, this erosion sock will be added to the site plan, which will be submitted to the commission. Okay?
Yep.
photographs to the commission of these controls. Is that all right? All right. So obviously erosion controls have to be maintained. All construction material stockpiles will be removed. One of the things that we were concerned about was that we noticed this week that there's a lot of garbage. Not a lot, but there's some pieces of garbage sort of in the buffer zone, some rusty material and some plastic stuff, and we would like to see that cleaned out of the area. So all debris, whether pre-existing or due to construction, will be removed. All right. I'll go back and correct the numbering if the numbering's off, since I added a condition. So then we've got, here was a condition that I added. No later than 12 months after the completion of the project, the applicant shall provide photographs of the site to the commission to verify the revegetation progress. If the areas of disturbed soil are less than 80% revegetated, the commission may require additional seeding or planting. Is that
Yep.
sound all right?
Yep.
Yes.
And then post-construction, no additional net loss of permeable surfaces is permitted without written approval of the Conservation Commission. Future landscaping within 50 feet of the protected A-series vegetated wetlands shall include only indigenous herbaceous plants, no invasives. A post-construction site visit will be arranged. The applicant shall install 14 iron marking pins painted with high visibility paint as indicated in the attached registry exhibit A site plan. So after I sent things out to you guys, Janice mentioned that it might make sense to, I'm going to stop screen sharing this for a second. I'm going to pull up my attachment so you can see how I changed it. Where would it be? It should be in here. There it is. All right, now let me try and share it. Why is it not showing up? Here it is. All right, so Janice was sort of noticing that I kind of had it just ending at 11 or 12. And she suggested I just extend that line all the way to the property boundary because the bank moves in quite a bit right there around what?
And the stream, yeah.
Yeah, the stream moves in. So as you can sort of see the way this line is, I can't see all of it. You can sort of see that we're curving it in. My recognition is that they may need to have some heavy equipment down in this area during the construction of the house. So I put in the conditions that this line of pins would be established after the construction is concluded in case, so they'll be establishing this no development zone after the conclusion of the house construction. In case that particular area is, they need to have some equipment in. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
But it's, you know, to go from where 10 is to the bank, it's not 35 feet. It's probably about 34 feet, 33 feet.
Yeah, I think it's as close as we can be just because of where the house is and the driveway and everything, I think.
And let me just scroll down.
As far as we can be, I guess.
And do you feel like this kind of map will be all right for the registry? I read the yellow may not show up if somebody prints it in black and white, but at least they can see the numbers.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have a little legend.
Okay, that's what I was wondering if there was a legend.
Well, here. Let me see if I can move it so you can see it. Can you see that?
Oh,
The
yeah.
line of numbered iron marking pins 1 through 14 demarcates boundary of no future development allowed area.
Just, do we want to use development or sort of no touch always seems a little more, development to me means, building something, but we don't even want them cutting vegetation in there, right?
Well, that's where in the deed, it breaks it down.
Okay.
So let me go back to the permit conditions and show you what the wording is. Okay. So can you see it?
Yep.
I mean, we can change that. What I have is the following completion, these markers will shall demarcate a no future development allowed area, no future activities shall be allowed that involve clearing of vegetation, grading, or other soil disturbance, except for activities that are already approved under this order or activities that are required for safety.
Yeah, that's good.
There'll be no dumping of leaves, grass clippings, brush, or other debris in into the demarcated no development allowed area.
Mhm.
Can you just say no disturb then instead of development? I sort of agree with Beth that development suggests, okay, I can't construct another house down there, but I can cut trees and I can put in trails and I can, store vehicles and, stuff like that.
No future disturbance.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Or just no disturbance. I don't know. Is there going to be stuff happening now during construction in those areas?
Well, there might be a little bit around that one spot.
But this will be for afterwards, for the
Right.
completion. Yeah, so I would just do like a no disturb. I think that's what people understand.
No disturb area?
Yeah, what do you think,
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah, that's
Super
fine.
simple.
No disturb area is good.
People are sort of used to that term, I think.
Yeah.
No disturb area. I'll go through and make sure.
Yeah.
All right. And then the marking pins will be maintained. Again, I took this language out, no development are permitted, because we already kind of said that. And then he has to tell anybody if he's selling the land, he has to notify us if the land is going to be sold. We have to be notified. The other thing I have in here, I think I put in here, was that we wanted under the general conditions, a letter from Joe acknowledging that he's read all this and understands it. Just to be, I thought that was kind of, might be a good thing to have since it's so complicated.
I know some towns do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
All right, so then here's the deed and I'll, no disturb area. Let me go down to, here's the deed restriction. I think that's all I have. And then again, the following activities are exempted. One, activity shown on Exhibit A. And the activity as is shown on Exhibit A and on the site plans. So, like the pins is allowed. And the activity required for safety hazards.
Good.
Okay. All right. I have any other questions about this?
No.
No.
I would like to get into EDP because I had a couple questions about how to fill it out. I want to make sure I'm doing it right. So what I'm going to suggest is that maybe we take a pause from our deliberations until after we're done with the applicant, the consultants, and come back maybe at 9 o'clock or a little bit before 9 and go over through the EDP form. Is that okay? And then we can vote on the conditions.
Okay.
Sure.
Fine.
Are you, did you close the hearing yet? Or are you
We
going
did close
to?
the hearing. We did
Okay,
close
sorry,
it.
missed it. I forgot it.
Any other we got 4 minutes. If there's any other comments anybody wants to make among the commission.
No, there was a little confusion before about the plantings. Now that you've got plantings on the plan, I didn't see anywhere in there where you're requiring them to save labels and tags off of these plantings that they're putting in. Just to clear up that confusion, I would just suggest that you at least put a stipulation in there that they have to retain those tags and show them to you guys.
Does that make sense? You guys want to do that? What I do have here is that they have to use somewhere in here indigenous plants, and I said there's something in here about plant seed. Let me see if I can find it. Does anybody know where that is?
I heard the mention of conservation seed mix.
I know it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Seed. Let me look for seed. Seeding. A planting plan described in the approved site plan include only native herbaceous plants, shrubs, and trees. Only grass from an approved conservation seed mix and native herbaceous plant are allowed on the soil. So no, we didn't really actually say this. So the applicant shall submit to the commission documentation about the plant seed mix, the grass seed mix, and plant species used. How's that sound?
Good.
Okay. All right, now it's why don't we just take a pause, and we'll come back to this. And so I see Patrick Garner is here. Hi, Patrick. You unmuted. Welcome. Is Scott going to be here as well?
Hi, Miriam. No, Scott's got another meeting he's doing tonight.
Okay. Well, maybe folks on the commission would like to just introduce themselves.
I'm Mary David.
I'm Beth
Robin
Wilson.
Harrington.
Hi, Robin.
Beth Wilson.
Good evening.
Hi, Patrick. My name is Scott Kahn. Very nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, sir.
And then we have a couple of volunteers that kind of act as consultants for us, Patrick. That's Janice Stone, who I think you know, and Don Wakaluk.
Hi.
Hi, Janice.
Hi.
So Patrick, I know you've seen the scope, and we've, you and I have talked, and I explained a little bit about what the commission is looking for. So I think what would be helpful for us is to hear from you kind of what your thoughts are about how you would kind of attack this project. If you have any preliminary thoughts about it, what you think we need to do to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, I hear you. I think what I'm going to do is not say a whole lot, because Scott and I haven't really drilled into this terribly deeply. He and I both have a tremendous amount of background on both rivers and hydrology. And we've talked about doing research in the scientific literature, and there's a fair amount of it, as well as looking at both federal and state regulations. And I think we're going to come up pretty empty. We've both already done some digging, particularly in the scientific literature, and there's discussion about, underground rivers and unique rivers that flow along and then disappear into sort of a subsurface boulder field and go underground for hundreds of feet at a time and then reemerge. but we're yet to come up with any real in-depth studies of it. So I think the unique task we're going to have is formulating a proposed regulation that sort of looks at the phenomenon and describes the typical instances of where it occurs. But I think, measuring it is going to be the difficulty, because the commission has got to, in its regulation, have a bit of we've got to create edges that people can work within. That's going to be the challenge. And, so we've sort of talked around it. We've recognized what we have to do. And it would be wonderful if in the course of doing our research, we come across something that's, sort of already there. But I suspect we're going to have to end up relying ultimately on our background and what we've seen in the field, and sort of bounce some of this around with you guys, and we also have the clear definitions of impact that DEP has done in the Wetland Protection Act in terms of stream crossings. But is it the same animal or a different animal if you're crossing a stream that's underground? Those are some of the things I think we have to look at. And my quick opinion would be that, yeah, I think you would be, because when you're crossing a subsurface stream, you're excavating loam and subsoil, and you're possibly putting in utilities, and all sorts of things are happening. And I think those are probably going to be measurable as direct impacts. But again, that's the sort of thing that we have to begin to explore. And as Marianne can say, we haven't even signed a contract yet. So
yeah, that's right. Well, we don't want you to work for free. But I appreciate your coming and letting everybody meet you. I have a couple questions, but maybe other people have questions.
Yeah, no, I have 5 or 10 minutes, so fire away with anything. And if you guys have great ideas, I'm eager to hear.
Scott, you want to say anything?
Yeah, that's right. Patrick, thanks for the opening on that and sharing your thoughts and some of the difficulties, I think, of working through this. I'm curious on the delineation part of this, even, just as a place to start, as, let alone some of the other things that we've carved out in our scope of work in terms of how we might, actually think about thresholds and impacts to the resource area, but even how to identify that resource area and delineate it. And I'm just curious, how you might even start to approach something that ultimately would help inform the commission, to promulgate policy or regulation to ensure the protection of that resource area.
Right. I think you've defined the challenge, Scott. And as Miriam and I have talked about, I was on the DEP Technical Advisory Committee on perennial versus intermittent streams. We debated all of this for about 1.5 years, and then came out with the current regulations, for good or bad. But I do remember one of the things that we did was we visited probably 50 or 60 different streams, just looking at them and trying to, at that point, we were struggling with what was an intermittent stream. But there were several instances where we went out on small streams, and it was the first time I had seen the phenomenon, but we'd walk along for 100 feet, and then suddenly the stream would disappear. And it was crazy. And it was the first time I thought, it was like, oh my gosh, where'd it go? But you could walk out into the woods, 7,500 feet, stand quietly, and you could hear the darn thing gurgling under the ground. And, we began to realize that was an instance of an old glacial boulder field. And the stones were scattered, and there was enough voids and sort of open spaces between them that it was easier for the water just to go into that area and flow under the ground. And over time, of course, trees had formed on the topsoil that had grown and that sort of thing. So that's the sort of thing we have to explore. And there we'll end up concluding, I think, that there are only certain instances where streams go underground. And so our task is going to be to define what those are, where they occur, and then how to measure them. And there may be instances, and I don't know. I've been anticipating and sort of thinking around this, but there may be instances where we find that the stream goes underground to a depth of 10 or 15 feet, and it's almost immeasurable.
Yeah.
And there may be other instances where it's flowing 18 inches under the ground or under the surface. So I think that's going to be part of the challenge that we're all going to be facing. What do you regulate and what don't you?
Yeah.
What's under threat?
It's part of our kind of doing our due diligence, or doing my due diligence to kind of research consultants. I've had a few conversations with some hydrogeologists, and I spoke with I don't know if you know who Neil Price is.
I don't.
He's with Horsley and Witten, which I don't think is related to Scott Horsley, though we're all curious about that.
Scott, yeah, Horsley and Witten is an interesting one. Scott formed Horsley and Witten with a guy named John Witten, and Scott split off as an independent hydrologist, and John Witten became an attorney and now represents different towns on the eastern part of the state on 40Bs.
Okay.
So neither one is affiliated with Horsley and Witten.
Okay. So it's confusing. So anyways, so Neil Price is a hydrogeologist, and he's working right now on a project for the town of Wareham's planning board that's permitting a solar project and developing a model and an investigation for evaluating impacts on groundwater. And we've talked briefly in the past that if there is a notice of intent for a really large project, in addition to getting a wetland third-party reviewer, we might want to also get a hydrogeologist. And so that's kind of where I was thinking with, he might be a really good choice for that. But I wondered, is there a way to reasonably define what we want to refer, what we think a subsurface stream should mean to include an evaluation of groundwater impacts? Because those can be measured. You can model the impact of development on groundwater.
Yeah, you can. And in this state and really throughout New England, we have two types of rivers or streams. We have gaining streams and losing streams. And as you probably all know, groundwater rises and falls through the year. And depending on the type of soil, it can rise and fall anywhere from 3 or 4 feet to as much as 10 or 15 feet. And it depends on whether it's happening in glacial till or in sands, typically. And then of course, there's a mix between that. And that's all measurable. But exactly how that relates to subsurface streams, which are a rare phenomenon anyway, I'm not sure. Okay. That's something we're going to look at. But yeah, and I think your instinct in terms of perhaps using someone like that on large scale projects is a good instinct, because Scott and I have teamed up together in the past typically on large scale 40Bs in the eastern part of the state. And I look at wetland resources and rivers, and he looks at the effect of these projects on groundwater. And the impacts are often substantial, and it's typical for the engineering firm that's the proponent's engineer to minimize or ignore them totally. So
okay,
that's a different animal, I think.
That's a different, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions you guys have for Patrick?
As we go along, presuming that Scott and I do the work, if you guys have brainstorms or you have things that you want us to look at, and you can, sort of put them together in some form we can look back on, that would be great.
Everyone has frozen.
Have they?
Who's frozen?
I'm not frozen. You're frozen, Robin. You're frozen. Okay.
I think there was a movie named that one.
So Miriam, I have a question. This is Janice. So Patrick, I think people are looking at this as perhaps either underground streams or more broadly underground lakes, ponds, blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted you to know that the intention back in 87 was directly to the underground streams. I don't know if from the way it was written and the punctuation and stuff that is what it has to be or not, but that's what I intended back in the old days. At
Okay.
any rate, but I don't know. I know that there is some, sometimes it's just underground water, and I don't know how to deal with something like that.
Well, I think we get into a huge trap if we start going after underground water, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, there's groundwater everywhere, and it's anywhere from 1.5 feet down on the edge of a wetland to 4 and 5 feet down, typically everywhere else. I wouldn't want to go there. I'm with you, Janice. I'd want this to be specifically stream related.
Okay.
Yeah, that's always been my concern with it when this was all brought up. So I'm glad to hear that you're sort of specifying right from the beginning what we're really looking at. Because there is groundwater, as you say, that's at different depths, but there's also just water that moves in the soil pores in really saturated areas that we don't really want to, I think we really do need to define what we're talking about. And so it's good.
Yeah, I think defining an underground stream, I mean, there are all sorts of difficulties. As someone who does an awful lot of river related work, I mean, one of the first things I think about is that rivers meander. Even the little tiny rivers meander. So if we have a stream that disappears in a wooded area, for instance, and reappears 300 feet away, it's not going to go in a straight line from A to B. It's probably going to snake along. And so how do you define that location of where it's snaking? I'm just throwing this out. I don't know yet, but it's complex.
I'm glad too that you've actually seen them too, because people in some other parts of the state, especially eastern part, maybe will think that we're crazy or something, but
well,
they
you
do
are.
occur.
You are.
West.
No, yeah, Janice, I have seen them, but I've probably seen. I'm trying to do a count of how many of these I've seen. Probably, I'm out in the field doing this all the time, but I've probably seen no more than either 4 or 5 of these. So they're not common.
No.
The last one I looked at, which was sort of a shocker, was in the town of Weston. One of the last places I'd expect to find it, but
yeah,
there was an area that had a river that was merrily running along. It was intermittent, but it was between these $1 million homes, and it suddenly disappeared, and about 400 or 500 feet further away, it reappeared again.
I was in Pelham on the New England Trail today, and we ran into one.
Crazy.
There's a flowing stream for, I don't know, maybe 20 feet. And before that and after that, it was gone.
How far apart before it reemerged, or did it?
We didn't follow it, so I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, because that may be a thing too. At what point, how much above ground do you have to count the whole stream? I don't know. I mean, it's wide open.
I think that, I mean, when you've got a stream that's on the surface and you can see it, it's easy. We can define the center line, we can define the thalweg, we can define the banks. It's just there. But when it goes underground, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what we have to try and define.
Well, this is really helpful, Patrick, and I so appreciate your coming and talking with us, and I found it helpful, and I'm glad to see that your sense about this is that we need to focus on keeping this within the wheelhouse of wetlands as much as we possibly can without going too far afield into hydrogeology.
Yeah, and Miriam, I think it has to be somewhat practical. In other words, an applicant has to be able to go out and define it, and you guys have got to go out on the ground and agree with it. And so,
yes, agreed.
Yeah, we can't stray too far away.
No, I agree. I really appreciate the approach that you're talking about. So I think we were going to move on. And we've got a bunch of other agenda items we still have to take care of tonight. So
Okay, well, thank you for the invitation. It was good
Thank you
chatting.
so
And
much.
again,
Thank you.
you know,
we'll
the
be in
more,
touch with you.
Nice to meet you.
yep.
Thank you for
Good
coming.
seeing you, Janice. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
All right, let's move on. We're woefully behind in our agenda. Do you want to finish up the permit for, can we do that? Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What I'm going to try and do, where'd it go? Oh my God. I'm going to try and pull up EDP because I did have some questions about it, and I'm going to try and screen share it again. Sometimes, you know, you try to screen share things and it shows stuff and then sometimes it doesn't. All right, well, let's try this. If I just do my desktop. Oh no, wait, I just saw it. Hang on. There it is. Okay. So I started working on this. It timed me out. Hold on. Let me get the password. Wait, 6. Okay. All right. Can you guys see this? Yes? No? I can't hear anybody. Hello?
Yes.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah,
Oh,
little
Yeah.
hard to read, but it's there.
okay. So one thing on the notice of intent under property owner was left blank, but the technical, and it said Joe Salvador, but it's actually Joseph and Kathleen are on the deed. So I put both of them on the deed. On this section for property owner. Here under the site plan, under site plans, I have the reconstruction site plan that was submitted by Chris Stoddard. I've got the building plans. I've got the registry exhibit A site plan, which I'll correct a little bit of the language on it to before we submit it. The enforcement order, and then I have the enforcement orders. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And then this was one of my questions under findings. Do we check all of these? Are there some of these we shouldn't have checked off?
I usually always ended up checking them all because they all seem to always apply.
Okay. All right. So then approved. And then here was the other question around resource areas. Just put riverfront. Is that what?
Well, there's bordering vegetated wetland too, the A series.
Yeah, but I don't know the square feet or do I need to have that?
But is there impact on that? I
I
don't
guess
think there's impact.
yeah, there's no impact on that. So yeah, never mind.
No impact. Okay.
And so is that 900 feet correct? That's what is calculated for the impact? I should think it might be more than that. I mean, they're in so much riverfront.
Well, what Linda Scott said is because it's permanent, that the only permanent changes are the structure, which is 900 square feet.
I don't know. You have all
Yeah.
that work going on, the traffic coming in and out, disturbed soils.
Ugh.
I mean, I suppose, yeah, it's getting to the last minute to try to, but generally it's, you go by whatever's within the limit of work and is likely to be impacted. But
I think he
that's
did. Chris did, you know, give us some square footage, but I don't know.
Oh, that's where I usually would take it from, is from the notice of intent. If he corrected the notice of intent to put
No,
the
he
amount
didn't.
of
He
riverfront
didn't.
impact.
He didn't correct it in what was submitted to DEP. So this is the 900 square feet is what it was in the original notice of intent. You know, when Chris was talking, he rattled off. I couldn't take notes fast enough.
Okay.
You know, I seem to remember something about 3,200 square feet.
Oh, yeah, there was
Yeah.
something about that. I only got, yeah, so then in the end, it'll be only 3,000 feet of impact, which will be less than 10%, is what he was saying, something along that line. I didn't.
3,000 or was it 3,200?
I think it was 3,000 because he was saying it was
Yeah.
under the 10%, which would have been
Right.
3,200.
Oh, that's what he said. Okay.
Yeah,
So you feel comfortable with 3,000? Is that what I should put?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they're doing on the site.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is it
And
all
then-
within the first 100? I guess it is.
Yeah, it's like in the first 50.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So that, oh, not 300, 3,000. So that's what we want?
Yeah.
Okay. And then save.
Always good.
Mm-hmm.
And then none of this replies, right? And then I have here just see attached. So when I submit it, I'm not going to submit it while we're talking because I want to correct
Mhm.
the labels on the attachment to say no disturb as opposed to no future development.
And maybe the numbering, if you had to renumber some of the
And I
conditions.
have to
Yeah.
fix the numbering, exactly. So, and then help me out, let me get to the next one. And then the next part is under the the bylaw. We don't have a citation. I don't know what the citation would be for the bylaw.
That's only if the town has organized their bylaws into, a numbering system. I don't know if we have.
No, we have not.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Well, I had one question. Maybe I missed. I went to get some more water. What did you decide to do about ownership? Are you going to list all the owners?
I didn't think those were owners.
Co-owner?
Well, the only two owners are Joseph and Kathleen.
Did you find a deed more current than 2020?
Well, the deed in 2020 was a quit claim where the trust was deeding it over to Joe and Kathleen.
I thought it was still, well, you read it maybe more carefully than I did. I thought he was being listed as a co-owner with the Salvadors.
No.
No, okay, all right.
That's not true. I'm sure that's
Okay.
true.
All right. That's fine.
Because it was because the deed was a quit claim deed, which means that they were deeding it over to him.
Uh-huh.
The only thing that was a little funny was that there was a lien on the property because of outstanding taxes, but it looks like that got cleared up. The previous
Okay.
trust had a outstanding lien, but surprised it get cleared up before they sold the property. I would have thought that would have been a problem, but anyway.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Do I have permission to sign for people? Do we have any other questions or discussion? Or are we pretty good?
We're good.
I'm good.
All right. So I will sign and submit after the meeting. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the order of conditions as amended?
Make a motion to approve the order of condition as amended for 31 Lakeview Road.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
DeFont, I, Harrington. I think that was an I from Robin.
That was a
Yes?
waved hand, yes.
You're muted. You're muted. Let me try to unmute you. There you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got thrown out of the meeting and I had to get back in and I forgot to set everything up. I don't know how that happened.
Okay. All right. So I from you, Con,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Oh my God, we're done with this one. That's great. All right. It is 8:56 and I would like to just get through a couple of items. I know we're going to be talking about, Leslie Carrier is here and wanted to talk about the forest cutting plan issue. But the next thing on our agenda that we had to take care of is a certificate of compliance for 48 Lake Drive. Everybody has seen that. We've done several site visits, right?
Yes.
And no concerns, right?
No, Don and I went and things look great. What was nice was I'd been there several times before already. And the wall's completed, no signs of erosion.
Okay. So I'll just pull this up and let you guys see the form, but I think it's pretty straightforward because it's everybody see it?
Yep.
Okay, so this is a certificate of compliance. And I just took this all from the NOI. Complete certification. And that's all she wrote. All right, somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 48 Lake Drive.
I second.
Okay, David.
Aye.
Aye. Harrington.
Aye.
On.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Great. So I'm gonna and tomorrow I will I'll send this off to Carrie as a PDF, Carrie, so you can send this off to them tomorrow. Okay. And then the other thing that I wanted to get done quickly, let me think about this. Why don't we take a couple of minutes and talk about, we're going to do minutes after we're done with this, but why don't we talk about the select board meeting for November 17th? I sent off some comments with a suggestion that we could attach those to the approved minutes as kind of additional information for the public.
I was fine with that.
Did everybody get a chance to look at it?
Yeah, Miriam, I had a chance to look them over and appreciate you pulling those together. I do think it's helpful for us to, I think just for further clarification of some of the items that was discussed, I think it provided more context for a lot of different items. There's a lot covered in that meeting. And so I think just to have that be as part of the record is very helpful.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, there were just so many documents that were being used or everybody had already looked at. And I thought having the list of documents would be helpful. My thought had been that we would just approve the select board minutes with the 2 additions of those documents, and then that one document, that Word document, and then the comment. I don't know if we should include it or not. You know, there was that big document that I put together, which was kind of like a summary of all the issues around Southbrook Conservation Area and all the history of it. I don't know. Do you think it's worth attaching that or not?
I thought it was.
Yeah,
Just
I think
for
it's,
people, for
yeah.
information, if you were ever looking at it.
Yeah, good background.
Yeah. Okay. So does somebody want to make a motion about this, and then we'll move on to the forest cutting issues?
So I'll make a motion that we approve the attachment as to the select board meeting minutes for, I'm sorry, I don't remember the date, but
11/17.
11/17.
Okay. Second.
That's second.
Okay. David.
Aye.
DeFont. Aye. Harrington.
Aye.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay. All right. So Leslie is here. And Leslie, I did share with the commission your email.
Thank you.
So let's plan that we're going to take about 10 minutes for this topic.
That I have 10 minutes to present is what you're saying?
Well, I think 10 minutes for a total discussion is what I'm thinking. I already talked with you about it, so why don't you just come back? The last time we met, the commission had decided they did not want to do a site visit because we were advised by town council that we did not have any jurisdiction over forest cutting plans besides adding comments. So I guess, why don't you tell the commission what you're asking for now?
I'm asking, well, for me, I'm asking that you look at the memorandum of understanding, which gives the Conservation Commission the power to either deny this plan because it's incomplete, and to really, be environmental police dogs here in town. I mean, we've got a situation where we've got a stormwater problem potential. We've got my wells, my neighbor's wells. Schoolhouse Road is a dirt road. We've got potential flooding to the road, to my property, my neighbor's properties, as well as properties on the other side of Schoolhouse Road. And I disagree with Donna McNichols. I think the memorandum of understanding gives the Conservation Commission the ability to say these plans are incomplete, no good. And furthermore, the Conservation Commission can enforce our bylaws. And it's been done before with Sharon Weisenbaum. So why not do it again? That was Kevin being me and Sharon being in Dan and Rachel McLean's position. And Sharon just said, oh my goodness, I don't want to upset the bylaw. I won't do it. She changed. And I've asked Dan and Rachel to move the cutting plan uphill so it won't have any potential damaging effects, which also is to many, many people. I'm talking about the greater we here. I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking to my neighbors who are really upset about this. And the delineation needs to be done. And I'm asking the Conservation Commission to either deny it flat out because it's incomplete, or do a visit, see for yourself. I sent 4 videos, they're less than 3 minutes, and they show there's cutting gonna be in the wetlands, and our bylaws say no exemptions, absolutely no exemptions. And, given the slope of the terrain and the abundant bodies of water, I wasn't here for all of the other presentations about streams that are intermittent, but it is wet back there. And it is wet near Schoolhouse Road and all 88 cords of wood coming out, and there's no specification to where they are in relation to the wetlands. And I know they're marked in the wetlands from just the brief videos that I did. And looking at my notes, because I'm feeling pressured again with the little bit of time, but I'm going to take a breath here. Because I need to say the Conservation Commission needs to put their eyes on the cutting in the wetlands. And again, the stormwater management is important. And the wetlands are important to slow down climate change. And if you take out the trees that are there doing their job, you're looking at Armageddon. I mean, Dan told me months ago, I think Armageddon is coming. And I'm like, Dan, I'm telling you, if you're on this call, which I don't think you are, you're going to make Armageddon here for Schoolhouse Road, our neighbors, potential damage to wells, potential damage to property. Is this what you want on your watch, Miriam?
Well, it's not my decision alone, Leslie. So I know you're kind of calling me out here, but I just want to, say that this is a decision that the commission needs to make, not
Yes.
just.
Well, I understand that. I'm just saying, you give me 2 minutes, so I'm saying,
Well,
you,
no,
yeah. I don't mean to make this personal, but I do feel personal responsibility for my property. And I know many neighbors here even want to make a statement. And, you know, there are people in Shutesbury concerned, there are people in Amherst concerned, people all over the country concerned. We have a wetlands protection bylaw, and it was used with Sharon Weisenbaum, and it should be used again and again and again to protect the wetlands.
So Leslie, again, I'm gonna move to having a discussion with the commission about this, but I just want to clarify a couple of things. Is that town council advised us, and the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners also advised us that the way that the Attorney General has interpreted state law, there is a specific state law which says that you may not regulate agriculture at the local level. So bylaws cannot be used to regulate agriculture. And the state has defined agriculture to include forestry, whether we like it or not, whether you agree with it or not. The state has defined it in their statutes as being a form of agriculture. And then they've specifically passed a law saying that no town bylaw can regulate agriculture. So we are preempted. Our bylaw is preempted by the state law specifically. We're not preempted in other areas. The bylaw is still can be more restrictive in other areas, but because there's a specific law that specifically says the towns cannot, municipal level regulation cannot regulate agriculture, that's where this kind of comes from.
Miriam, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you.
Yeah.
The memorandum of understanding between DEP and DCR specifically spells out how a conservation commission using its town bylaws would address violations of the Forest Cutting Act within the town's bylaw. It gives you instructions.
All right,
So-
Don, I don't want to go into all of this right now. I just was trying to recap what Donna had said to us.
But please don't quote Donna. She incorrectly stated facts. I gave her the opportunity to meet with me and discuss this at length. She has not done that.
All right, Don, what we need to decide tonight is whether we're going to do a site visit or not. Okay, I just was trying to clarify for everybody who wasn't there when Donna gave that opinion, what was said. We don't, nobody has to agree with her. I'm just saying this is what she has told us.
Right,
Thanks for
let's not agree with her because the Forest Cutting Act is not.
Leslie, I will mute you. You have to raise your hand and be recognized by the chair.
All right, I'm just upset
There is
because
a
2
hand
minutes
raised.
is.
I am not going to take comments from the public yet. I want to have a conversation with the commission. I understand that people have a lot of emotions about this, but there's a process that we have to follow, which is we need to be able to talk amongst ourselves. So there is a request on the table. And, I'd like to hear from the commissioners whether they want to go out and do a site visit, because that's really the decision we have right now. So don't get angry at us if we're going to do what you asked us to do. Just let's take a deep breath. Okay. What do you guys want to do?
I appreciate hearing the background on that, Miriam, and I, certainly understand what had been laid out by town council. I guess what was brought up before, what Don was alluding to, maybe that would be further conversation down the road. I do think it's pertinent though for us to decide whether or not we have a nexus here. And, and from what I see, I guess what's been presented, I don't see that nexus here to, for what we would be regulating here for the forest cutting plan. So I'm not sure that a site visit is in order until we can figure out if we have a jurisdictional issue there or not.
Okay. Other comments from folks? I muted people because there was some background noise. I didn't know where it was coming from, but Beth and Robin and Mary.
Yeah, I guess I kind of agree with Scott, and I don't know if a site visit at this point is what really needs to be done more than we need to look at the permit that DCR issued, and then see exactly where, if we have a role in this at this point. And I guess I would be curious if anybody's appealed that DCR permit, taken that route of sort of,
I haven't heard that.
because
I go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, in this situation, they are the permitting agency. We're not the permitting agency. We just comment on it. And a permit has been issued. So sort of, you know, there's an applicant that applied and a permit has been issued. So the correct way is to appeal that permit first, but maybe that's been done already. I'm not sure.
It may have also, the time limit for the appeal may have expired.
Right.
I know that it seemed like there was some confusion and there had been a delay in our being given a copy of this forest cutting plan. It didn't get given to us in a timely way.
Yeah.
I suspect that we could offer comments to DCR at this stage in the game. We could ask DCR to accompany us to go out and take a look.
That's kind of what I was thinking. If we get to a point where we're having a discussion with them, more productive than just having a site visit on our own right now, just sort of figure out our situation and maybe have one with them at a later time.
Well, a later time, or do you want me to reach out to the DCR forester and see if we could set up a site visit?
Sure. I'd be on board for that.
Scott, Mary, Robin, how do you guys feel about that?
I do think we need some more clarification. So the idea of a site visit with them or having a conversation with them, I think would help me understand more.
Okay.
I guess where I'm at, I think having the conversation with them is the most important piece of this. And so whether or not that happens in conjunction with site visit or not, I'm open either way, but I think a better understanding of how they've permitted and what our particular role might be at this point in time, that's where I have questions.
Okay.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm hearing some talking in the background from somebody. If there's background talking, if you could just mute yourselves, that'd be great. Okay, so I don't think we need to take a vote because I think we're all in, there's a consensus here. But I did see that Sharon and Leslie, and I want to wrap this up. So a brief comment is fine, but we're going to move on. So Sharon.
Hi, thank you, Miriam. I just wanted to disentangle what happened with my property from this issue, because it was really a completely different kind of issue and really can't be used to have any bearing on what's happening behind Leslie's house. In my issue, the Conservation Commission was very helpful for me in figuring out what I could and couldn't do. So I just wanted to disentangle my situation from this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I appreciate that. Leslie, did you have a comment? You're muted, Leslie. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Thank you. Thank you. It sounds like the Conservation Commission, if I'm hearing it properly, is willing to take a site visit. Is that I'm hearing Scott, maybe not.
DCR.
With DCR. Okay, that would be great, because I want to just reiterate that the plans left blank all the delineation, pages 5 and 6, on where the cuts are, even though they're marked on the trees, as I indicated with my videos. So I would welcome that site visit happening. And I don't know if I could come along or not, but I'm really excited to hear that there could be a visit to really see what is true.
I think that the site visit would be with DCR and with the landowner, and it would be at the landowner's discretion. If anybody else could come, I think is probably the way it would work, Leslie. So I mean, you could reach out to Dan.
Okay,
if you
well,
want to.
yeah, just let me know when it's happening and I can reach out to him, and if he's amenable, that's great. If not, I know that the Conservation Commission will be there, and that makes me feel better. Thank you.
It will probably, just commissioners, it will probably have to be during the week because it'll be with, people's state jobs. And I will not be able to accompany you guys because I'll be out of town. So it probably would be Beth, maybe Mary and Rob, and I'm guessing Scott, you wouldn't be free because you're working too. So it will be on you three primarily. Okay. But you can report back to us. I'll email you and try to set up a time that will work. Okay. Next, we need to do the minutes. We've got the minutes for March 24th. Has everybody had a chance to look them over? Robin, you're.
Yeah.
I'll get you unmuted, Robin. Yeah.
There we go.
And Robin, you had a couple small edits, which I did find and corrected. Thank you.
Yes.
I love
they
your,
were super minor.
I love your eagle eyes. You always find stuff. You're a good former teacher.
No, it's more like getting old and going, wait, did I read that correctly? I have to go back and read it again.
Were there any other comments or revisions? No. Okay. Do we have, I'll make a motion to approve them as amended. Second, Mayor David second. So David.
Aye.
Stefan, aye. Harrington.
Aye.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, then we have the April 4th minutes. Very brief. I'm sure Carrie loved doing them.
I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Okay. No, okay. So David made a motion to approve. I will second. David.
Aye.
DeFont, aye. Harrington.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay. Let's see what else we had on my list.
I don't think we finished 114 Montague.
114 Montague.
The
Oh,
deck.
we did not. You're right. Thank you. So we needed to figure out how we wanted, what we want to do about that property. So this is where I think we were thinking maybe a second site visit, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Right, because when we were there, we weren't expecting to see, wetland areas so close. We thought we were just looking at, oh, you're building a sauna here. When can we come? It's like,
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like it would be great to have Beth come out and do
Yes.
a site visit.
I totally agree.
Okay, that would be fantastic. We will not schedule any site visits on Sunday. I know it's Easter. Won't do that to you guys. I wanted to know whether you want to have some follow-up with the highway department about a notice of intent. I think that it is at this stage, nothing is going to happen between now and town meeting, probably because there's so much going on with, the town government getting ready for town meeting. But I wondered if we want to have a follow-up letter about road maintenance coordination and about a timeline for a notice of intent. Because I think that, it's just, I haven't gotten any feedback that they're making any movement towards it. And I am concerned that the summer will get ahead of us and then it'll be another year.
I agree. It would be nice to have a timeline for replying and resolving this.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Okay. Do we want to use the big E word? No. Just nicely, do we want to give them a time frame? Say we want this by a certain date, give them 60 days. That's probably unrealistic. 60 days is not going to work. We could say 90 days.
I could say I would give them a time and let them respond to it. You can always say no, and then we start again.
Well, if they say no, then it'll be, you know, will it be another 8 years? I mean, the other way we could do this is we could go to the select board and write a letter to just say to the select board, please advise your highway department to do this. I think that's where the letter would go, is I would send it to the select board.
That's a good idea.
I like that. You know, and I don't know. I mean, 60 days seems reasonable for a period of time, and 90 seems even more so. I kind of wonder if starting with 60 and giving time to move it out, if there are concerns with the timeline, or if that makes sense.
Well, the 60-day window, the problem is that they're not going to do anything until after town meeting. So if we give them 90 days from town meeting, then we're talking at the end of the summer, which means, you know, nothing would get done until the following year.
Right. So are you thinking, you lost me there. I was thinking 60 is better, and what I heard you just say is 60 might be hard, but 90 puts us at the end of the summer, and that's too long.
I think that, I don't know. I think that 60 days is 60 days, knowing that there really is only 30 days because they're not going to do anything until, you know, say town meeting is about 5 weeks out, right? It's the 21st. They're not going to do anything until after that.
And I think we request 60 days, and if they want an extension, they ask for an extension.
Okay. All right. They have been given an offer to get some help from DEP. I don't know if DEP will still help them without Mark Stinson there. I don't know what the level of support from DEP is like these days for these things, but okay. I will send them a letter around that. Let me just see if there's any other agenda items that we need to do. We did Dalmas. We might actually be done by 9:30. Oh my God. Okay, one last item, which was the mapping project. Do we want to schedule another time to do that?
Sure, I've been meaning to get a map sort of, I looked at what we did, and I just need to pull some layers together, and then I can just send around what I have from what we did before.
I took my GPS and uploaded it into ArcGIS and made a map. And it looked like the data points were pretty accurate. I mean, you could sort of see where the brook is, and there were, you know, the culvert kind of came out in the right spot, more or less. So that was encouraging.
Yeah.
And I was thinking we had just stopped shy of 114 Montague Road, and that's where, you know, there's all this kind of downslope from that property. So it's kind of, if we'd gone another house down, then we might have had more data for looking at that project, that house. But okay. Do you want to think about a date, or do you want to hold off and wait till our next meeting? We're meeting on the 28th is our next meeting.
With school vacation next week, you know, the next 2 weekends are full anyway. So maybe we just wait to our next meeting to set something up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That is fine with me. And I don't know what my availability would join in on it, just because I'm hoping that I'll be able to continue doing the meetings, and I'll let you guys know if I can't make something, and you know, you guys can decide who's going to chair if I can't make it. Everything's kind of up in the air in my life right now.
Right. Please
Okay,
let me know if I can do anything for
Thank you.
you. I
Thank
don't live far away.
thank you. I appreciate it. All right, I think we're done. I don't think there's anything else. Thank God. Got it done by 9:30.
Let's quick before somebody thinks of something.
Is there any public comment? I know there's some people there. Is there anybody, before anybody thinks of something, I just want to, was there a need for any public comment? No. Down here, going gone. Okay, somebody want to make, so we're meeting on the 28th. Right now, I don't actually even think we have any public hearings scheduled for the 28th. The Montague Carver ANRAD is the first meeting in May, so it's like May 12th. We have a couple of landowners that are going to be submitting notices of intent soon for that the geothermal wells and a couple of other projects. So there'll be some NOIs coming in, but they haven't come in yet.
Good.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, second. David, I. Stefan, I. Harrington.
I.
Han.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy
Thank you.
Easter.
Happy Easter.
Happy
Happy
Passover.
Passover.
Hey, Miriam, I have a quick question just with
Yeah. Yeah, you can
sending
do
out
that.
stuff. So I'm still emailing out the order of conditions. Shoot, what was the other one? Oh my
The
goodness.
certificate of compliance.
Yes, and then
And the letter to Bob Douglas.
yes, and so you'll email those. Email
I'll
me
send you them as
later today?
PDFs. Bob's does not have to be registered certified mail.
Okay.
Just put a copy in that folder.
Okay.
And that's what we'll do.
Okay, I just wanted to double check before we left to make sure I had everything.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Carrie.
Okay.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Right.